Hello, guten Morgen, guten Tag, guten Abend. Mein Name ist David Blekhman. It is my pleasure to be invited by the German American Chamber of Commerce West to participate in green hydrogen life cycle discussion with the presentation Hydrogen-Based Economy and Education at California State University, Los Angeles, where I work as a professor of technology and also technical director for the hydrogen um, research and fueling facility. Today, I will be presenting on the following few topics. First, I would like to share with you how our hydrogen station is designed and works and the purposes of that station on our campus. Then I will present other sustainable projects that are related to hydrogen station and overall um, circle of green technologies. I will share with you how that integrates in our education, and also I will connect to um, what is happening in the world toward hydrogen-based economy and developing of hydrogen hubs. So our campus operates its own hydrogen research and fueling facility. We were building it around 2009, 2010, 2011. Then we cleared all the bugs and made it work by 2014. And we've been operating as a fueling facility for hydrogen cars since that time very successfully, and our customers are happy with the service they receive. In order to build that station, and I would like to remind that it was a long time ago, we were fortunate to secure funding from California Resources Board, Department of Energy, and other organizations. But the first two were the major amounts, and then 250, 200, 200, and $50,000. So it's close to $4 million that this facility cost. And you can recognize the Audi A7 H-tron in 2014 when it was showcased at the LA Auto Show. Both of hydrogen Volkswagen and hydrogen Audi came to Cal State LA for fuel so that they can drive around press during the press days of LA Auto Show. So our facility is producing its own hydrogen from electrolysis that I will present on next slides. And our electrolyzer is rated at about 60 kilograms a day. It was produced by Hydrogenics. Then we have on the left, you can see tube trailers, 60 kilograms. Each tube is 20 kilograms. And storage pressure there is about 400 bar. Then we are dispensing hydrogen at two standard pressures. One is 350 bar, usually it's buses and trucks and trailers distributing hydrogen. And then 700 bars, usually that's passenger vehicles, although the newer designs of trucks will be taking 700 bar pressures as well. In terms of passenger vehicles, with 60 kilograms per day, we usually fuel 15 to 20 vehicles. And on the right, you can see this big white box, and it's a chilling unit. In order to fuel cars, hydrogen is usually chilled. The industry standard is minus 40 degrees, and we are second industry standard is minus 20 degrees. So our fueling usually takes 8 to 9 minutes for 3 to 4 kilograms of hydrogen, where the stations operating at minus 40 degrees can do it in 4 or 5 minutes, depending on the ambient temperatures and other conditions. So now turning around from the picture we just looked, you can see a container which is electrolyzer. And inside of the electrolyzer, we have on the bottom right fuel cells, and then we also have a dryer unit inside of that electrolyzer. And in order for the fuel cells to work that in reverse in electrolysis, the AC voltage is converted to DC voltage, and you can see these many operational parameters and in the control software. The unit is originally built by Hydrogenics, which was recently purchased by Cummins, and you know Cummins is a engine power plant manufacturer, and Hydrogenics produces both fuel cells and electrolyzers. So it's a very interesting acquisition by Cummins. And they're continuing the projects that were started by Hydrogenics, and I already saw this year a Cummins equipped truck. Over the years, we've conducted multiple research projects at our hydrogen station. Mainly that research is based on operations and maintenance. And so it's a cooling system performance, compressor performance that we looked at and published. Also, one of the interesting projects we had was collecting data on failure. And you can see on this diagram, again, the layout of our hydrogen station and in which years of operation, which types of equipment were, failed. And if you look at the dispenser here up at the very front, it operated, it didn't have too many failures or concerns in the first year. But in the second year, we started seeing more load, and a lot of things needed to be fixed. And after that, it was a significant reduction in what was failing. And electrolyzer issues that we had to address a lot of times actually was growing, but now it operates more reliably, and we also know what to do and how to overcome issues quickly rather than deciphering the process. And the chiller unit, for example, had a lot of alarms and hydrogen leaks and all others. But you can see our majority of things were failing in the second year because that's when we were learning how to operate that better, and better. We had a lot of valve leaks and tightening, and so that took place in the first year. And so that's kind of like a failure map that we conducted. And as a matter of fact, a high school student made these graphics based on the data we provided here. So that's kind of was an interesting process. And that's one of the things we do is a workforce training at our hydrogen station in addition to research. So our students are working as interns, and then the industry picks them up. And so it's a very good model to have education at university, training and education in hydrogen technologies at the university campus. In addition to operating our hydrogen station, we, in 2018, initiated a shared mobility program. And one time we operated 18 fuel cell vehicles that could be rented 2 hours for free by faculty and students. And after that, there was a charge. very modest charge of $6 per hour. So that was very interesting program. However, it did not survive COVID times because campus was closed for almost 2 years, and we had to return 11 vehicles, and we retained 7 vehicles that are still running on campus by parking enforcement office. And of course, we have all kinds of normal use of hydrogen station besides our fleet. All the public is happy, and they come to uh, how to say, they use the station, normal use of the station for. Okay. Another related topic of sustainability on our campus is the solar system that I built with my technical staff and students. Over several years, we created the frames and then mounted the solar panels. And here's the students, for example, take a tour when I teach a photovoltaics class, and I'm teaching it this semester, for example. And this system consists of 3 arrays, and these 3 arrays come in, and you can see it's a custom built in the building. So I designed it, acquired this equipment, and these are SMA, so German made, Sunny Boy 7000 inverters. And they've been working since 2011. Pretty reliably. We had an issue with the web box that was replaced by the warranty, so the collection of the data stopped for a while, but generation was continuous. One time we replaced one of the arrays, so we were down for a year because it's like a student project. So you wait for the right people to come and arrive and work with you, but that was accomplished as well quite successfully, and our system continues to operate, so more than 11 years now. Minimal maintenance, it just works. I also like working with SMA because they support their portal, Sunny Portal, and we are displayed there openly, and you can see here's like a data since 2011, right? We've been operating. And then past 2 years, the campus got its own large photovoltaic installation, and it's 100% solar. So we are producing more solar than the hydrogen station consumes, and EV charging. So it actually covers our campus needs for hydrogen and for EV charging, and there is 30% left after that. And so that is installed as a solar carport and the parking structure. And initially the construction was just on this right side. And I insisted that everything, well, it wasn't a lot of resistance, but I said, look, if we are doing it, just let's do the right thing and have a right big installation. And so I'm very happy that it's happened, and now we have a good presence of sustainable energy on campus. And again, I'm already using it as a learning tool for our photovoltaics class. Also in 2011, we actually started negotiating in 2010 with ChargePoint. That's a very big company in EV charging space, that hardware manufacturer. So on campus we have 55 level 2 chargers and 6 fast chargers. So our campus was recently recognized by our local power utility with the second place for clean transportation, for EV clean transportation. So this is a very popular service, and for many years, since 2011 till this year, we provided charging service for free. But I think next year we are moving into start charging for electricity. So having all of these technologies always gives you a good inspiration working with students. And one of the projects that we attempted was we actually participated in this competition quite regularly, but I really like the one that they offered 2018, and that was the last competition that was offered as a hydrogen student design contest. It actually needs to return back. Um, and I wish that the people who organized it and sponsored it initially, for example, Department of Energy, would reconsider offering it. It was a world competition of the student teams. Usually, 30 some teams would sign up per year. And then half of these teams would submit reports, and then Cal State LA team would get third, fourth, fifth, various places. Pretty good quality reports. And so I really liked this diagram in 2018 when we were asked to design power to gas project, and that's what one of the main diagrams produced by my students. Um, Wind power and photovoltaics would be a source of intermittent power. So that cannot be continuously used. It's intermittent power. But then we can take hydrogen produced via electrolysis and then store it and use it continuously or off season whenever we need it. Hydrogen can be used in residential applications, and we'll look at it. Could be used in industrial, like a steel making, and many other, like ammonia production, fertilizer production. And hydrogen can be used in commercial buildings for power generation. And the third pathway fourth pathway, right? So residential, industrial, commercial is a transportation. So hydrogen is ideal for transportation as a fuel. Um, of course, electricity is a good fuel, e-fuel, but hydrogen is an excellent e-fuel for passenger vehicles and especially for heavy duty trucks. For passenger vehicles and for trucks, you can get very high distance at very low weight penalty, because in order to get more distance, you just put in tank, and tanks are so much lighter than batteries. So there is no penalty in increasing the range. Second, it could be liquid form, could be compressed form, so there is a variability for hydrogen. Passenger vehicles are all compressed hydrogen. And then refueling is comparable to gasoline, 5 minutes at minus 40 degrees. So you can refuel. And if you're an electric car, and even if you're recharging will take only half an hour, imagine you're a second car. So now you're out for a whole hour waiting to get another 200 miles. Where with the hydrogen car you can get really far, 350 to 400 miles. So for in European standards, it's a 500 kilometers. Now, once you establish hydrogen as a fuel for transportation, why stop? Right? So it's a logistics vehicles can be both electric and fuel cell. My students came up with this idea of tugboats. So it was 2017, early 2018. And after that, I started seeing a lot of ideas for tugboats. But one of my students was a really genius, because I was telling them about a shunt locomotive. Shunt locomotive is a train that goes at and rearranges the train cars into a new train loads, right? At sorting station, right? And so it's a shunt locomotive. It's tied to only to one location, so it's easy to establish hydrogen fueling there. And then the students told me, oh, same thing will be tugboats, right? They will be just operating at the ports like a shunt locomotive, and you can arrange fueling for them. And so I started seeing that as well. And forklifts are extremely popular at warehouses. And then aviation. And so I'll give you all these examples as we move on in this lecture. Um, when I was in Sweden, so you probably noticed in the title slide, one of my distinguished marks is 2019 to 2020 Fulbright Distinguished Chair on Alternative Energy Technology at Chalmers University in Sweden, Gothenburg, Sweden. And while I was there, everyone told me, you got to go see this house. So in December, I went to see Nielsen Energy. It's a company. And that's the house, hydrogen house where they live. And I was so impressed with that. I was really, really impressed as an educator. And so I raised $10,000 to do a professional documentary. So there is a 15-minute documentary that we put on YouTube, and you can see the hydrogen house, and it's hosted on the channel Sikand City Center. It's one of the energy centers at Cal State LA campus. And then in 15 minutes, I walk through with a lot of data. And the inspiration for this video is not only educational for public, but it's very technical. And I made it as an introductory video for projects in my classes. And you will see how that relates. But basically, we have, again, SMA products. You recognize them right away. And I have it for the photovoltaic system on my campus. So there is a battery storage, and then from the battery we feed electrolyzer. Then there is a seasonal storage of hydrogen. We don't need seasonal storage in California, but in Sweden you do when you have a long summer and very short days in winter and probably no power generation. The house is all solar. It's all beautifully arranged to produce certain amount of hydrogen. And then there is a power cell, Swedish company in Gothenburg, 5 kilowatt system that provides hydrogen for the house. And during winter, it provides heat. This is a very clever building. It has heat pumps, underground, thermal storage underground, very smart solutions. And now this company is doing amazing things for trailblazing hydrogen in Sweden and I guess Northern Europe. They're like in very high demand. So I recommend watching that video if you want to learn more about residential applications of hydrogen, especially in northern climates. Now, so how this all these technologies relevant being on our campus? Well, there are kind of two things. One is education, and second is demonstrating the hydrogen hub, hydrogen economy. So I will address hydrogen economy next. And now I'm just going to walk you through the educational system or for educational program. So I teach in the Department of Technology, and it's an engineering technology program. And when I see my students first time, it's a junior level. So it's a third year of studies. And this is a course, Sustainable Energy and Transportation, which is kind of a survey course, 1 or 2 weeks per topic. And I walk them through a lot of traditional power generation, and then half of the course is renewable and alternative energy. And then students, if they select to pursue the concentration in sustainable energy and transportation, then we offer these courses. Right now I'm offering photovoltaics. Next fall it will be electric and hybrid vehicles. Then I probably offer fuel cell applications, or no, measurement and instrumentation course. And then next year it will be fuel cell applications and photovoltaics again. And then after that, I will rotate in engine design. So it's kind of a 5 courses, and I usually offer 1 per semester. And if we grow more faculty, maybe we can offer more courses in this more often. And again, these courses take advantage of the hardware and the projects we already have. So both photovoltaic systems were used in the photovoltaic course I was teaching it this semester. And again, we have electric and hybrid vehicles we've built for various projects, fuel cells, obviously, and the hydrogen station. We do a lot of laboratory experiments, laboratory learning, and also learning at our hydrogen station, etc., etc., etc. So basically, it's very much related. So now I would like to transition more to hydrogen economy. Um, and One of the first trailblazers of hydrogen were passenger vehicles. And so here you can see Toyota Mirai, BMW, Hyundai Nexo, and many other Honda Clarity, various manufacturers. So right now in California, we have approximately 10,000 fuel cell vehicles on the road. And in Los Angeles, I see them quite often. So 10,000 is enough so that you notice them several per day. And by some estimates, we might have in a few years 30,000 or even maybe 50,000 passenger vehicles. However, that is changing. Um, Interesting that Toyota Mirai, and you you probably surprised looking at this particular picture, and both of these pictures were taken at the hydrogen station. Hyundai came and did the commercial shoots, and so during commercial shooting of Nexo, right before it was offered to any customers, we already had them on our campus, so I snapped this picture. But Toyota Mirai here on a trail bed is just trucked in to refuel. And that kind of a special moment in the life of this vehicle when it's returned from the first lease after 3 years and then sold to the dealership again. And then dealership, before selling it to customers, they bring the cars, refuel them full, and then they go to dealership and deliver it to the customer. So it's kind of interesting. But what is interesting is that they are very affordable. Um, they were sold at $16,000 to $20,000 after 3 years, and it's a brand new sedan or close to new sedan still after 3 years. And customers were getting $15,000 fueling cards, so the fueling was free for many years. And therefore, I wrote an article in Forbes, so I recommend you can read it if you're interested in passenger vehicles. The best used car deal on the block is a hydrogen-powered sedan. So what happens with passenger cars? Apparently, they're not more. There is less interest in them than before because electric vehicles are becoming long distance and they can be refueled. But the real reason is not the long distance of electric vehicles. The real reason is that electric vehicles don't need to go too far in the everyday use of American. It's a 20, 30, 40 miles one way, 20, 30, 40 miles home. So to work and home or for errands, whatever they do, it's not a lot of driving per day. Unless you go on a trip, you're not going too far. So electric vehicle is, in a lot of ways, convenient option for a lot of drivers. However, if you're talking about large battery system, Chevy Bolt, Tesla, oh, people do hunt for very powerful charging stations, and those are in high demand. So there are challenges, just like for hydrogen vehicles that require hydrogen stations. Um, there is a challenge for electric vehicles as well. And those things break just like hydrogen stations break and need service. And that's what we have on this slide. This is representing a map of hydrogen stations in Southern California. That is a pretty high density. And I know Germany has 100 stations or even more than 100 stations built. And then to help the drivers, we have a station status website where it shows us that some stations are down and some stations are operating. And so drivers, before going for hydrogen, can consult with this document and get information where they are going. And there are delivery issues. Sometimes stations break and they need service. And the goal in California is to reach 200 stations. So now I'm going to kind of go a little bit faster. UC Davis hosts Transportation Infrastructure Transportation Institute and the Sustainable Transportation Institute. And there they conducted research, and here is the publication. Now it's about 3-4 years old study. And what they determined that by 2050, sales of zero emission vehicles will be, so red is hydrogen and blue is electric. And so long haul will be, majority of those vehicles will be heavy duty trucks powered by hydrogen. And in other categories, it's kind of like a 50-50, some for long distance buses, there will be hydrogen. Medium duty, heavy duty pickups will be hydrogen. Cars will be maybe 30% hydrogen. All right, and light duty trucks will be 50, and long haul will be dominated. Why? Because long haul electric vehicles are going to be very, very heavy, and then they will take very long time to recharge. And maybe if they are autonomous by 2050, then you don't have a driver, then they need to be driven continuously without the driver. So hydrogen will be excellent solution to refuel in 15-20 minutes versus several hours for electric trucks. Plus the electric trucks are going to be very heavy from the batteries, which reduces positive payload for those trucks. All right, so that's just buses, but I already explained. And here's some examples. So this is our transit buses. I took this picture at locally coach manufacturer, and then they integrated hydrogen system. There was another company, eBus. That's at our hydrogen station. We fuel them. And here's a couple of examples of trucks. This is a Hino truck, fuel cell. And here's a Nikola truck. Nikola has also Nikola Tre hydrogen truck based on the Iveco platform. So those could be found sometime in the future in Europe. Hyundai makes trucks. Cummins started, Toyota is with Hino. So there is a interest in developing trucks, and that's what I kind of would like to bring to your attention. A French company, Gusan, that built this hydrogen truck. It has 4 fuel cells, Hyundai 85 kilowatt 4 fuel cells. And the truck is built for competition, Dakar Rally. And what is interesting, it successfully completed the rally in 2022, in January 2022. And this French company, Gusan, is producing hydrogen logistics vehicle, like both electric and hydrogen logistics vehicles for ports and for logistics centers, distribution centers. And then for long haul, they're developing this skateboard hydrogen platform. So again, if you want to read more about them, here is you can pause and read these 2 articles. Gusan Hydrogen and Electric Transport for cargo at ports, logistics centers, and airports, or the Dakar Rally. And I'm hoping to write a little bit more about them. So that's very exciting for me as an engineer and an educator. Is a very interesting piece to share with public. Here is an example of this shunt locomotive by Vehicle Projects Company. So that was delivered to BNSF, and 2009, 2010 project. They demonstrated a successful use of a shunt locomotive with hydrogen. And nowadays, Alstom is building, has been building multiple train deployments. And here is an example with Eversholt Rail in United Kingdom. We also have examples. This is at our hydrogen station. It's a forklift with hydrogen. And here's another application for logistics centers. And that is really a good commercial case for hydrogen versus a battery, because batteries need to be swapped, or you downtime for charging. Swapping is difficult, extra space, extra charging. Hydrogen just like instantly recharge. And so traditionally we used to have electric and propane forklifts. Propane you cannot use inside of the building, so it was electric. And for facilities that operate 24/7, they cannot stop forklifts and just leave them to charge. So hydrogen is a better productivity driven solution, clean productivity driven solution for warehouses. So those warehouses that already have hydrogen, adding heavy duty logistics vehicles to their internal operations might make a lot of sense. Now, shipping industry is also starting to pay attention to hydrogen technologies or hydrogen derived fuels. For example, Kawasaki will be taking, one of those liquid hydrogen containers or transporters are going to be taken from sources like Chile or Australia and bring high liquid hydrogen to the places where it's in demand. But there are ferries and small boats that are now going to be working on fuel cells with hydrogen. And even we have a project in San Francisco, a hydrogen ferry will be operating there as well. Even aviation is looking at hydrogen. And here we have a company called Zero Avia that already had a few flights with the Piper plane. And they use on-site electrolysis. They use a truck that delivers and fuels the plane. So they're already developing, and they're actually hoping there will be larger platforms. And so with these technologies and the ideas my students had, I was not surprised when I was in 2019 visiting Europe and visiting fuel cell and hydrogen joint undertaking meetings. I would recommend everyone to attend those in Belgium. In Brussels, it's usually November timeframe, to learn about the European sponsored projects for hydrogen and fuel cells. So I really admire that Europeans figure out this before than we did it. I already, my students already wanted to do it. Europeans already knew what to do. Hydrogen Valley, so develop it as a systematic process. And you can see how many Hydrogen Valley projects. What is a Hydrogen Valley? It's when we have a source of hydrogen, sources of renewable hydrogen. There is a transportation and distribution system involved, and then end applications are developed as well. And you can see, you can go to their website, is h2v hydrogenvalley.eu, and look at some of the projects. Some of them might be in Germany, some Norway is huge, and it's cost share projects. So you can see very little in the United States and like a huge amount of projects in Europe. I would recommend you go to this website. Obviously, some of them are in Germany. So how we are doing catching up in the United States? So Department of Energy launched a program called Earth Shots. So those are strategic investments to develop certain energy independence capability. And one of those Earth shots is a hydrogen shot. And the hydrogen shot is kind of a three ones. Hydrogen, 1 kilogram of hydrogen to cost $1 in one decade, in 10 years. So, but it's a one decade. So it's a 1 kilogram of hydrogen for $1 in one decade. And that's their strategy to strategically invest into catalysts, into electrolyzers, and other energy sources, and then off-taking, sales, large sales of that hydrogen produced. So one of the studies conducted by the Department of Energy, and these studies are one of the tools is request for information. Department of Energy called and said, regions, do respond and tell us how good you are, how good you would be if we were to spend money on you. And so you can see here is 9 regions. And if you go to this web address and also follow some links for the recording, you can listen about each of this region, what is good about hydrogen and how they would be very receptive to federal funding and to development of hydrogen in those regions. Of course, we are representing California and West Coast, Pacific Northwest, and together with our brothers here in Oregon and in Washington, West Coast can be very strong as a hydrogen hub. And so following to this, California Department of Energy developed another request for information. Now, as a result of that, there will be 4 hubs identified, or 4 regions where they will be spending money. And what's money we are spending? We're going to be spending, according to President Biden, Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, $9.5 billion to grow hydrogen economy over 5 years. And 1.5 billion will go for some research, and 8 billion will go into the deployment of those 4 hubs. So approximately $2 billion per hub to develop hydrogen economy in the United States. Very significant investment, different model than in Europe, but now you know where you can bring your business or how to follow your potential business developments. And this is the last slide of the presentation, and it's just one of the good examples of how a port can be a hydrogen hub. And here in Los Angeles, we have 2 ports, Long Beach and Los Angeles. So I think there is a lot of interest in the Port of Los Angeles to develop as a hydrogen and electrification hub. And if you think about it, we can organize some kind of a seawater electrolysis. And now if we are producing hydrogen, it can go to cruise ships. This is a renewable energy island. It can go into transportation. It can go in port operations, right here and right there, different operations. And again, for local ferries. So you definitely will have customers. And so you definitely will have good sales of hydrogen. And so that is an example of a hydrogen hub in the United States or hydrogen valley in the rest of the world. And thank you very much for listening to this long presentation. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. You can find my email at calstatela.edu website. Just type my name, David Blekhman. or in German, Blekhman, and an email. I will be really, really happy to hear from you and organize more in-depth analysis or training, whatever you might need. Um, so really pleased to share with you my knowledge. Thank you.